today with another decoding, and this time I'm pleased to announce I'm doing it with my good friend Scotland Sean. So we wish this could be a live chat, but this should be the next best thing. We went through and we did a presentation together for you. So this one is called Decoding with Scotland Sean, Part 7, The Philosopher's Stone. Take it away, Sean.
I was helping a friend today with some truth, and while sending him information on the transgender agenda, their magnus opus, their great alchemical work, the rebus, etc., I came across this person, Mary the Jewess. Considered to be the first true alchemist of the Western world, according to the wiki. I'll come back to Mary at the end of the presentation. My friend had sent me a picture of a famous UK couple's son called Romeo Beckham, who is now a model for YSL. The picture had him wearing heeled boots with the caption, "Pushing gender boundaries." This was not the first agenda pushing picture I'd seen from a member of this family. I'd recently seen one of his brother Cruz covering his right eye, showing us the left eye of the Dajjal, or Antichrist. Here's a picture here, a playboy with painted nails and heeled boots. Notice Cruz doing the two-finger dragon of the cosmos symbolism whilst blanking out the right eye. This is the same symbolism we see in the Baphomet, the Hierophant number 5 tarot card. Catholic popes do this, Jesus Christ does this, and it's also on the jewellery of the 33rd degree Freemason. This here's the cover of the Popular ID magazine. Every cover shows the same left eye symbolism. If you look at the ID symbol in the top corner of the magazine, you'll see it's a face showing the right eye scored out, and the D representing the Kali tongue, the god of destruction. Also notice the butterfly symbol representing transformation.
Here we have another celebrity son. This is Jaden, son of Will Smith. Like Cruz, Jaden's hair is dyed pink. Pink is the combination of red, menstrual blood, and white, semen. Another way to do the he-she Baphomet. Notice the devil horns directly above his head. He has the loose chain around his neck representing free will on the devil tarot card, and bad is shown front and center on his t-shirt. Bad as in the sinister path. Regarding the sinister path, when you look toward the left-hand side, it is called sinister. I told you guys this before, but for those who never knew that. And when you look toward the right-hand side, it's called Dexter. Funny how Dexter is the right-hand path, yet they have made a series about a serial killer named Dexter, left-hand path. They make him funny and lovable, right? Like they make him where you like Dexter, the serial killer. So it's all about the good and evil in the same person, right? That's what they always push. The hero and the anti-hero in the same person. LV for Louis Vuitton, but also for L, as in their God, self, L. And V for victory. So L victory. Their victory. Notice he is facing Dexter while looking sinister. All by design, of course. The hand isn't his either, but of a white male, one of his victims. Their victims. The ones that are in control right now, right?
Notice the same hand symbol on the point of the sword of the 33rd degree jewel. Also notice the Latin Deus meumque jus, telling us God has given the wearer of this jewel the divine right to rule. All of these male-looking celebrities wearing female clothing and accessories are false idols being used to push the transgender agenda. No male, no female, just one neutered gender. Depopulation. Their magnus opus, their great work, their philosopher's stone.
And like Romeo, we have Jaden wearing women's clothes. Jaden is the face of Louis Vuitton's women's line. And the other women don't look like women at all, blurring that line, the neutered gender, as Sean mentioned. Brickwork in the background to represent the Masons once again in code. Here we have Jaden with the black-white duality behind him and doing the devil horns, hand sign. Notice his hair. On the white side, it is short, like a male. On the left side, it is long, like a girl's. And he is covering his left eye here with that hair. Sometimes they will cover the left eye too, to confuse. The right eye is the eye they want closed because it represents the right-hand path, the good, while the left represents the path of evil and deception. Off topic, but while we are still speaking on Jaden, you will notice they always pair white women with black males now. Notice the girl on Jaden's right has a chain on her wrist, like the Devil Tarot card. And the corner of the purse resembles an eye with an eyelash, one eye, all-seeing eye. We see the brickwork once again.
The Philosopher's Stone symbolises perfection and enlightenment. It's a mythical alchemical substance capable of turning base metals such as mercury into gold. It's the central symbol of alchemy, and efforts to discover this were known as the Magnus Opus, the Great Work. Here I'll show you the Great Work as the coalescing of the male and female, the end product being the transgender. But first I'd like to talk about the word pharmakia and its symbols. The word pharmakia is the Greek root word for where we get our words pharmacy, pharmaceutical, and pharmacist, etc. Its definition is the use of drugs in medicine to charm, enchant, poisoning, sorcery, spells, and magical arts. Here's a picture from Shakespeare's Macbeth. Double, double, toil and trouble, fire burn and cauldron bubble. Here I have a couple of quotes from their Bible. Their Babel, Bible, Revelation 18:23. For thy merchants were the great men of the earth, for by thy sorceries were all nations deceived. Revelation 12:19. So the great dragon was cast out, that serpent of old, called the devil and Satan, who deceives the whole world. So what is the symbol of pharmacy, medicine, and the health services? It's a serpent. The bowl of Hygeia is the most widely recognised international symbol for the profession of pharmacy. It originates from Greek mythology. Hygeia was the goddess of health, cleanliness and hygiene. Her name was a source for the word hygiene. She was depicted with a serpent around her arm and a bowl in her hand. The symbol we see today shows a bowl containing a medicinal potion with a serpent drinking from it. Here's a picture here of the Bowl of Hygeia Award. It's given to recipients for outstanding services to pharmacy. This same serpent can be seen on the staff of Aesculapius, a rod with a serpent entwined around it. Aesculapius was the father of Hygeia and the Greek god of medicine and healing. He was the son of Apollo. This rod is a predominant symbol for medicine and healthcare. Again, here we have a symbol of medicine, the staff of Aesculapius on the star of life. 6-pointed. I wonder who gave us that star. And where else do we find the serpent being used as a symbol of health? A caduceus, which has two serpents intertwined around a rod, like the DNA double helix. It is a symbol of the healthcare industry. This symbol is associated with the Greek god Hermes, the god of merchants, financial gain, trickery, thieves and liars. He was also a guide to the underworld. Here's a picture of Hermes holding the caduceus. Hermes was also known as Mercury. Hermaphroditus was the two-sex child of Aphrodite and Hermes, and had long been a symbol of androgyny or effeminacy, and was portrayed in Greco-Roman art as a female figure with male genitals. Here we have a statue quite clearly showing the merging of both the male and the female, the large male shoulders, the woman's breasts, the woman's hips finishing above the belly button, and the penis. In classical mythology, the nymph Salmacis became infatuated with the handsome youth, but Hermaphroditus resisted her advances. When Salmacis forcibly embraced Hermaphroditus, she prayed that they never part. The gods granted her wish, and the two became a single being, both male and female. Hermaphroditus thus possessed both male and female sexual characteristics. The first mention of Hermes and Aphrodite as Hermaphroditus' parents was by the Greek historian Diodorus Siculus in his book Bibliotheca Historica. Hermaphroditus, as he has been called, who was born of Hermes and Aphrodite, and received a name which is a combination of those of both his parents. Some say that this Hermaphroditus is a god and appears at certain times among men, and that he is born with a physical body which is a combination of that of a man and that of a woman, and that he has a body which is beautiful and delicate like that of a woman, but has the masculine quality and vigour of a man. But there are some who declare that such creatures of two sexes are monstrosities, and coming rarely into the world as they do, they have the quality of presaging the future, sometimes for evil and sometimes for good. The only full narration of his myth is that of Ovid's Metamorphosis, where the emphasis is on the feminine snares of the lascivious water nymph Salmacis, and her compromising of Hermaphroditus' erstwhile budding manly strength, detailing his bashfulness and engrafting of their bodies. Notice the horns here on the front cover of the Ovid Metamorphosis book cover. So metamorphosis, a change of the form or nature of a thing or person into a completely different one, to transform or change shape. Did I just say Ovid's Metamorphosis? Have we not just been under attack from a deadly virus called COVID for the last 2.5 years? Going back to the serpent, the alchemical hermaphrodite was shown as the union of the dragon-winged male king and the female queen, standing on the Philosopher's stone with 3 wolf-headed serpents. And what do we have being held by the king and queen? A cup containing 3 snakes and a snake wrapped around the opposite arm. And whose rod in their Bible became a serpent? It was Moses. Many statues and pictures of Moses show him with horns. Thomas Paine described him as the following in his Age of Reason: among the detestable villains that in any period of the world have disgraced the name of man, it is impossible to find greater than Moses. In Numbers 31, 17-18, Moses gave the order to butcher the boys, massacre the mothers, and debauch the daughters. From Exodus 7:10-12 we read, Moses and Aaron went into Pharaoh and did what the Lord had commanded them. Aaron threw his staff in front of Pharaoh and his officials, and it became a serpent. Then Pharaoh also called for the wise men and sorcerers, and they, along with the Egyptian magicians, did the same thing with their secret arts. So each one threw down his staff, and it became a serpent. Here's another picture showing Moses with horns also. And what deceived Eve in the Garden of Eden in their Bible? It was a serpent. Notice how the snake in the tree looks like the rod of Aesculapius. And what about the Pope who speaks from his audience hall at the Vatican? It's shaped like a serpent's head, both inside and out. There are sources that say the word Vatican actually means divining serpent. Look at this grotesque statue he sits in front of. And if we pan out, we can see that he is inside a serpent's mouth. He is standing and preaching from it. And if we take a look at the outside of the Pope's audience hall, we can see the full building is shaped like a serpent's head. And many are unaware the full Vatican City is actually a huge crowned serpent when viewed from above. Here's a picture of it, you can see it quite clearly. The symbolism is right in our faces, but too big for us to make it out. To hide a great secret, hide it in plain sight. And if we look in the centre, the belly of the serpent, known as St. Peter's Square, we have another symbol of their great work, their Philosopher's stone, the transgender. Notice the Vesica Piscis with the phallic obelisk in the centre. We'll keep this for another presentation. If we now look at the androgynous Baphomet, we see the intertwined serpents on the genitals, just like Hermes caduceus. Notice the words solve, to dissolve, and coagula, to coagulate, on its arms. This means to break down and rebuild again. This is what these serpents are doing to us, breaking down society, removing the old traditions of family, male and female, and rebuilding in their image of the androgyne, the hermaphrodite, both male and female combined, the rebus. Here's a picture of the Baphomet. The Baphomet was worshipped by the Masonic Knights Templar. Eliphas Levi said the Baphomet represented the goal of perfect social order. The rebus is the end product of the alchemical magnus opus, or great work. It is described as the following: after one has gone through the stages of putrefaction and purification, separating opposing qualities, those qualities are united once more in what is sometimes described as the divine hermaphrodite. Sound familiar? It is exactly what is written in the arms of the Baphomet, solve and coagula. Notice the rebus symbolism. Sol, the red sun king, merging with Luna, the white moon queen, the positive masculine and the negative feminine. They both hold the Masonic square and compass. We see the symbols to the left of Mars and Venus, again representing the opposites of male and female. In the centre above their heads we see the symbol of Mercury. This is a symbol of androgyny, representing both genders at once. They stand on a dragon that covers their Philosopher's stone, a circle within a square, within a triangle, within a circle. Finally, notice the 6 pointed stars. You'll see the 4 and the 3 are based on the size of the square and triangle, and when they come together they are 7, the number of completion. Links to the Bible with the 7 days of creation. I mentioned the dragon above. I'd like to quote Revelation 12:19 again. So the great dragon was cast out, that serpent of old, called the devil and Satan, who deceives the whole world.
And remember that pic of Jaden Smith I showed you earlier? Sean pointed out that Jaden is actually doing the rebus here. Notice the male half on his right and the female hair, just like on the rebus, falling down on his left.
The rebus image appeared in the work Azoth of the Philosophers in 1613 by the 15th century alchemist Basil Valentine. Azoth was believed to be the essential agent of transformation in alchemy. It is a name given by ancient alchemists to Mercury, the animating spirit hidden in all matter that makes transmutation possible. Azoth was the name for the one thing. The A and Z in the word relate to the Greek alpha and omega, the beginning and end of all things. The word is meant to embrace the full meaning of the one thing, which is both the chaotic first matter at the beginning of the work and the perfected stone at its conclusion. That's the Philosopher's Stone. Believed to be the universal solvent, universal cure, and elixir of life, the Azoth is said to embody all medicines, as well as the first principles of all other substances. In the late 16th century, Paracelsus was said to have achieved the Azoth. The symbol for the Azoth was a caduceus, a serpent. Now looking at the picture here of the Azoth, you can see the opposites, the male sun and the female moon, intertwined with the caduceus, the serpent. If we look to the Jewish encyclopedia, we see that Adam Kadmon, known as the first or original man, was androgynous. In the Midrash it says the Pharisees taught that Adam was created as a man-woman, androgyny, explaining as male and female instead of man and woman, and that the separation of the sexes arose from the subsequent operation upon Adam's body. In the Kabbalah, the divine archetype of man and woman is known as Adam Kadmon, literally primordial man. He is the original archetype of man, an ideal conception of man, the first to be created and the model for all future humanity. Kabbalists describe him as the concealed shape of the Godhead itself, Adam Kadmon is androgynous. In him the male and female forces are in complete harmony and balance. And here we have a couple of pictures of Adam Kadmon and the Kabbalah Sephirot. And look what I have come across. Kadmon Pharmaceuticals, a biopharmaceutical company. All you need to do is check out the logo. Kadmon with the DNA double helix symbol, the caduceus, the same symbol we have seen throughout this presentation. Now let's take a look at their advertising: developing transformative therapies. Transformative therapies. I wonder if these guys are involved in mRNA recombinant gene therapy. Whilst on the topic of gene therapy, did you know that many vaccines contain what is known as MRC5 and WI38? Both of these come from a white European fetus. MRC5 is developed from the lung tissue of a 14-week-old aborted male fetus. WI38 is developed from lung tissue of a 3-month gestation female fetus. Both are known as diploid human cell culture lines. Diploid means of a cell or nucleus containing 2 complete sets of chromosomes, one from each parent. It comes from the Greek diplous, meaning double. This is a description of the DNA double helix, the same symbol we see on the caduceus and on the organ of the Baphomet, and the same symbol we see for Kadmon Pharmaceuticals. Here's a simple illustration of the chromosome and the DNA double helix formation. The X and Y chromosomes, also known as the sex chromosomes, determine the biological sex of an individual. Females inherit an X chromosome from the father for an XX genotype, while males inherit a Y chromosome from the father for an XY genotype. Mothers only pass on X chromosomes. If a male having an XY genotype is injected with a vaccine which contains female DNA with XX chromosomes, is this male receiving an overload of X chromosomes? Is this why we now see the mass feminization of men? I would say yes. Similarly, if a female is injected with a vaccine which contains male Y chromosomes, is this the reason for masculinity in females? This is their great equaliser to bring us together as one gender. Just think about the vaccines that are being administered to our children during the stages of growth. They're receiving them when born, during nursery and during schooling until they are adults. Pharmakia, the use of drugs, medicine, poisoning, sorcery, spells and magical arts. We can see what they're doing to us in the language being used. It is right in front of our faces. Pharma contains the word harm that also phonetically sounds like farmer. They are both harming and farming us at the same time. Farmed, farmed and harmed. Just like the word pill contains the word ill, they are bringing illness upon us all. Farmed, farmed, harmed, pill, ill. I'd like to show you another example of the DNA double helix of the Baphomet and it being used as symbolism right in front of our faces to promote 2 well-known transgenders. Here is a promotional picture from 1990 of the Williams brothers at an early age standing with the American President Ronald Reagan, who lived at 666 St Cloud Road, Bel Air. And who's the Prince of the Airways in the Bible? Notice in the picture the DNA double helix separated on both t-shirts with what looks like semen in between. Notice a sacred number 33 being shown in the tennis rackets. Also notice Venus, Lucifer, Selena the moon goddess, doing the V in the dragon of the cosmos symbolism with their hands. Above Ronald you will see the word Vieira showing. This means true. It is true, they are both Baphomets. Paracelsus was known as the father of toxicology. His ideas on poison led to the introduction of chemistry into medicine in the 16th century. Mercury, lead, arsenic and antimony, poisons to most, were cures in his view. He believed that metals could purify the body, thus used mercury, quicksilver, to heal people and killed many. This is why we still find mercury, thimerosal, in vaccines to this very day. He was an alchemist and occultist, and his writings are full of astrology and mysticism. Paracelsus was said to have achieved the Azoth, the universal solvent, universal cure, and elixir of life. This is where we get the words paramedic and paracetamol from. Paracelsus was not his real name. It was a name given to him later on, and we can see, as always, by the language being used, where it actually came from. Words are developed by transposing, rearranging or dropping, removing letters from an existing root word. We can see that his name came from his profession. The root of his name is actually pharma, Celsus. The H and M were dropped to make the name Paracelsus, so words like paramedic and paracetamol are actually pharmamedic and pharmacetamol. As shown earlier, pharma is witchcraft, sorcery and magical arts. Celsus means the one who should be increased, high, elevated, noble and superb. The sorcery is right in our faces as usual, as his name actually means high level witch or sorcerer. Paracelsus was also known to be a hermaphrodite, although the internet seems to be scrubbed of this fact now. You can see his soft feminine features in the picture. So alchemy sought to achieve the transmutation of base materials into precious materials. The ultimate goal was the creation of the Philosopher's Stone, which alchemists believed could both transform matter into gold and silver and bestow immortality. One of the central tenets of alchemy was the fusing of elements with their opposites, in particular those elements which adepts or skilled practitioners designated as male and female. Mary the Jewess, mentioned at the beginning of this presentation, was a shadowy historical figure, often identified as Miriam the Prophet, the sister of Moses. Miriam the Prophet is a biblical woman who was also known by some as Mary the Jewess. Many sources treat them as the same person. She was credited with inventing chemical apparatus and for being the first true alchemist of the Western world. Mary believed that God had given the secret to alchemy exclusively to the Hebrews, the Jews. She believed that the metals had two different genders, and by joining these two genders, male and female, together, a new entity could be made. By joining the different gendered substances together, a unity of substance could be obtained. It is strange that Mary the Jewess, who believed in the joining of the two genders, was also known as Miriam. During 2004, UK TV had a dating show called There's Something About Miriam. 6 male contestants in their 20s were placed in a villa with a woman called Miriam. They were competing to win Miriam's heart and a cash prize. The winner found out at the end of the series that Miriam was a transgender woman, born with a penis. This was a shocker to everyone in the audience at the time. This was the early days of the transgender programming. This is how they start their programming on us and have us accept what they show. They use shock tactics, the same as they did for COVID. They showed many people dying in the street and lots of graves being dug when it was first shown in the news. The same as they did to commence the continuous removal of white Europeans from television, movies, advertising and our history. They shocked the masses with the staged George Floyd death when they were at a low with all the COVID propaganda, then ramped up the BLM agenda to a frenzy. Mr. Chauvinist, white guy, kills George, black guy. Remember what I said about the development of words? What does chauvinist mean? It means a person displaying excessive or prejudiced support for their own cause, group, race, or sex. They drop the IST to create the name for the staged event. They always tell us to our faces, we just need to open up our eyes and see what is right in front of them. And here's a picture of Miriam. Today most men would believe Miriam to be a real woman. It is easier to fool someone than to convince them they have been fooled. I would like to sum this up from a quote by 33rd degree Freemason Manly P. Hall from his book The Secret Teachings of All Ages. Here he explains that the Azoth is related to the Ein Sof, ultimate substance of the Kabbalah. The universe is surrounded by the sphere of light or stars. Beyond that sphere is schamayim, the Hebrew word for heaven, who is the divine fiery water, the first outflow of the Word of God, the flaming river pouring from the presence of the eternal mind. Schamayim, who is this fiery androgyne, divides. His fire becomes solar fire, and his water becomes lunar water in our universe. Schamayim is the universal Mercury or Azoth, the measureless spirit of life. That original spiritual fiery water comes through Edom, vapour in Hebrew, and pours itself into the four main rivers of the four elements. This comprises the river of living water, the Azoth, or fiery mercurial essence that flows out from the throne of God and Lamb. In this Eden, vaporous essence or mist, is the first or spiritual earth, the incomprehensible and intangible dust out of which God formed Adam Kadmon, the spiritual body of man, which must become fully revealed through time. Must become fully revealed.
They are going from covert to overt with their transgender agenda now, putting these people in our faces, like in the Olympics with Semenya. Notice semen in his, her name. Semen, yeah. Caster Semenya of South Africa. And here we have another transgender Olympian, C.C. Telfer, also competing in women's running competitions. C.C. is for 3-3, for 33. C being the third letter of the alphabet, and when you put two of them together, you get the Masonic 33. The last name, Telfer, means a strong man in Old French. So hidden once again in plain sight, a Mason's man. And of course ravens, right, for the black crow, the Aleister Crowley crow. Here Cece is sporting a butterfly on his, her dress. As Sean mentioned, the butterfly symbolizes transformation from male to female, both in one body. And we have Sha'Carri Richards' son, here sporting her Masonic orange hair. Orange is the only color that adds up to 33 in numerology, so they love using orange. Son of Richard, because Sha'Carri was born a man. It should be very apparent looking at the masculine lines of the skull as well as the V of the body with wider shoulders than hips. A true woman is built the opposite, with wider hips and smaller shoulders. Recently, Richardson got a tattoo and said of it, "The dragon is misunderstood. It's seen as evil and destructive and everything. But the meaning of my dragon is fortune, authority, and good luck." It's also seen as the serpent, another form of the devil. She also mentioned that some of her critics called her cocky. I wonder why. And luck for Luckifer, Lucifer. Notice it's on his left arm, representing the sinister path, and her hair is pink, just like Cruz Beckham's and Jaden Smith's hair.
And from a few days ago, Sydney McLaughlin shatters 400-metre women's hurdles record to win gold. I wonder how she shattered this women's record. Is it because once again they are telling us truth in plain sight with the language being used? Sydney is a boy's name, and McLaughlin means son of the Norse man. They always let us know through the language. Always. If you look into human biological and physical characteristics, you will notice the markers on these people and be able to see them for what they are straight away. Transgenders. Is he, she McLovin it? He, she is definitely McLaughing at us. Robbing this medal from a real woman that would have earned it. Is there anything Norse about this man? I don't think so.
Quick note. You know how they keep pushing the pronouns they, them? Why? Because they want us to think in terms of two genders in the same body. They instead of he, she. Them instead of her, him. They would be the personal pronoun for the Baphomet, pair of Celsus, hermaphrodite, philosopher's stone. And an additional thought about this Mary, I'm sure you all made the association with the Mary. I know Sean said that they associate her with Moses' sister, but the most famous Mary would be Mary, mother of Jesus. If we look at Mary the alchemist and Mary, mother of Jesus, we note similarities. Both were Jews, and both were made up stories. One founded alchemy, the transformation of one matter into another, while the other transformed one matter, a man, into another, a god. Now both of these are not known in nature, and nature is God's works. So these transformations would be against nature, against God. She was always on the moon because she represents Isis, and that is why the Masons call themselves the widow's sons. Isis was the widow of Osiris. Through alchemy, they tried to make a homunculus, man-created life, man becoming God. Mary supposedly created a life without the sperm of a man, as is natural in nature. So again, man creating life. Jesus would be Mary's homunculus. Alchemy means God with a little g, transformation. Them becoming gods. That is exactly what they're trying to do today, trying to become gods over the whole world. Over the whole world, the WHO world, right? The WHO, World Health Organization, also ties in with our topic on pharmakia. Sound out the word, WHO. It is phonetically the same as who man, human, right? Who man, which is the first part of human. Who man is the spirit-matter connection Sean mentioned. Who is spirit or heaven, the divine connection, and is represented by 3. Man is matter or earth and is represented by 4. So together we get the spirit and matter connection. We start out as a seed, matter, and with God's breath, spirit, we become born. The compass, which makes a triangle shape, is also represented by 3, and the square is of course 4 sides. So how is the WHO connected? Because they want to become gods with a little g and rule earth as they please. So they want to become Hu God. So they want to become Hu God, but rather Hu man God. Because when you say who, You are asking about a man, not God. Does that make sense? So they are men who want to become God. So they are who man. WHO, man. And if you look at their symbol, you see the snake on there, right? The snake that Sean's been talking about, the Pharmakeia snake. And it has the Roman leaves of the Vatican surrounding it because the Vatican plays a big part. A friend mentioned the drug company Humana. Coincidence? Who, God, and Mana. Their drug for us. Will we be a Humana once we take the jab and it affects our DNA? Human A, instead of God's creation, the human. A variant of human. One that can be patented and changed, transformed. And here with the logo of winged Mercury running. And here's their newest logo. If you draw straight lines from every other petal, you'll make a Star of David. Notice too, the petals form sixes, so you get your 666.
So this would tell us that Humana, human with an A at the end, because they do the inverse, means without human, absence of human.
And besides the COVID variant, we had Omicron, right? Which is an anagram for moronic. They see us as morons, like in Brave New World. The morons were the epsilons, the lowest caste, who did the most menial work. Isn't it ironic that people that believe in the virus are given the moronic shot? And what about the monkeypox virus? For starters, what it actually is an allergic reaction to the shot, just like some people get when they get a dose of penicillin. They break out in a red, itchy rash. Same thing. They use monkey because, one, they want to reinforce the we came from apes BS programming. Two, because they worship the moon eye, money, the moon key. It is them laughing at us some more. And breaking news. The WHO just declared monkeypox as a global health emergency. Are we surprised? No. We knew this was coming. They will not stop with this programming now, not until they rule the world 100%. And here, Planet of the Apes. This was predictive programming. White girl with a chimp. Are we surprised? Notice they're both doing the one eye. That's basically what they want, right? They don't want white girls with white boys. And three, Romeo Beckham would say, a pox on both your houses, which is a variation on a plague on both your houses in Romeo and Juliet. Both houses were cursed. They love to curse us, spell castings, etc. So this is a way to curse us all the more. Just like in World War I, World War II, where they have our people fighting our people. Same thing as Romeo and Juliet. Before we wrap this up, I did want to mention one other thing that I noticed. There is a connection between the Philosopher's Stone and the Georgia Guide stones. Sean was mentioning Thomas Paine earlier, and we know that on one of the guide stones, Paine's call for an age of reason was written on it. And then they blew it up because they really don't want an age of reason, right? They want an age of stupidity. They want us all dumbed down, all religious. Paine was a natural philosopher, while they are philosopher stones, unnatural. They are the opposite of Thomas Paine and his philosophy. Remember that they use the name stone, Stein, for themselves. Houston, we have a problem. Houston, hew stone. The stone hewers are the stone masons. And the top of their pyramid are the same people poisoning us with their pharmakeia. And here we have this meme. Houston, we have a problem with Tom Hanks. Remember Tom Hanks? He was the first celebrity to get COVID. Yep, he's their boy. We know that the Philosopher's Stone's ultimate goal is to change man out of God's image into something totally else, into something they control 100%. Paine's philosophy was to be kind to one another and leave nature be, to observe God's works, nature, and let it guide us in our lives. They do the opposite. And here we have a picture of Will Smith and the two Williams brothers, right? Venus and Serena. And if you notice so Will's looking left, and then over his left shoulder it says it, I-T, right? Because they are its. They're he, she, its. They destroy nature. And how many of them do you ever see farming? They are not the farmers. They are the PHARMERSs, right? Farmers with a PH. They are the harmers. The signs are there. We just have to observe and use reason to figure everything out. Thanks, Sean, for doing this with me. It's really nice. We're planning on doing some more, by the way, so stay tuned. All the best. Cat out.